Hi everyone, so for today's video I'm going to be using the Jar of Flowers stamp set. Now this can be found on page 95 of our current annual catalogue. To save some time I've already stamped and coloured in this flower and the vase, and I'm going to be making a fun fold card. So I'm going to be using my ScanNcut cutting file, which is available to purchase on my applelover53.co.uk website under the Scan and Cut cutting files page. But if you don't have a Scan and Cut, I'll give you the measurements. But just to let you know that these are all the elements that you get within your cutting file, okay? And everything is pre-cut and pre-scored for you. You just need to fold it. But if you don't have a Scan and Cut, you need a piece of card that's 10 by 5. You score it at 1, 2, 3, 4 and 7. Then you need a piece of card in the same colour that's 6 by 5. For patterned paper, I'm using the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. I'm using this side because it's got the Granny Apple Green in it, which is the colour that I'm using for the card. And this needs to be 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then you need 2 strips, which are 3/4 of an inch by 4 3/4. In your cutting file, you already get this piece. This is 4.5 by 3. I've actually cut an extra piece from the stitched rectangles, and I've used the second from the largest. But if you don't want to use the rectangles, just cut 2 of these, and that will do to replace this. It's a similar size, it will work, either will work. So I can't remember whether I've actually said, but I've already pre-cut and coloured my decorative elements, but I'm going to be using the Scan and Cut to write a greeting for me. Now again, you could use any stamp set. Jar of Flowers doesn't have greetings, so something like the Biggest Wish, or there's lots of stamp sets that I sell in my Stampin' Up shop with lots of greetings that would work for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I've already pre-folded this, I've just not burnished it yet, so I've pre-folded on the dashed lines that I've put in the cutting file for you. And I'm going to apply some glue on this first tab here, and that's going to fold in and stick down, and that's going to create the kind of box element. And then this 7-inch score line or dash line you fold backwards. That's how your card's going to sit, okay? So I'm just going to apply some glue on here, and the finished size of this when it's all folded down to go into your envelope will be 7 by 5. So I'm going to fold that over and burnish that down, and just hold that in place until the glue grabs. And while that's I'll just put my put something heavy on it. I'll put my phone on it for a minute. And the colour scheme I got here, I used my colour chart. This is a free resource that's available on my Apple Lover 53 websites under the Stampin' Up tab. And I looked in my coloured cardstock and thought, what colour have I not used for a while? And I thought Granny Apple Green. So I went to the Granny Apple Green, and it says that the colours that complement Granny Apple Green are Night of Navy and Real Red. So that's where I've got my colour scheme from. And I've coloured these in with Real Red, Granny Apple Green. For some reason, I either haven't got or I can't find my Night of Navy blend, so I've used a Night of Navy Stampin' Right marker. And then within this colour chart, it also says Balmy Blue goes with these colours. So for the jar, I've just stamped in Tuxedo Black Memento, which is this, for anybody that might be new. All the products will be listed under the YouTube video and in the accompanying blog posts, and they'll all have direct links to my Stampin' Up website. So I've got Balmy Blue, and I've coloured the jar in. So that's where I've got my colour scheme from. And just to save some time, I'm going to glue this piece down to the front of this card. Now this again, as I say, is from Hues of Happiness. And I deliberately chose this piece of paper because it's got the Granny Apple Green and it's kind of got blues, and I think that might be mint macaron, and there might be some balmy blue in it, I'm not sure, but that's why I chose this piece. So I'm just going to stick that down onto there, like so. So now I can bring my base card back in, and this is how this is going to work. So you've now got something that looks like this, okay? So this piece is going to stick on here, just on here. It's the width of the card, and it's just going to sit, so the base of it just butts up to where that kind of box bit sits. So I'm going to use wet glue just to give me a little bit of wiggle room. I'm just going to pop that in like so. Just sit it so it lines up with the width of the card. So now that's going to sit like so. Okay. Then I'm just going to turn this over. So the piece that I've cut in basic white is going to stick on the back, and that's where you can stamp or write a greeting. I'm going to get the ScanNcut to draw me a greeting, which I'm going to put on the front. So this section here would just be for, you know, where I would write my little message to whoever I'm sending this card to. So that's the back. Then I've got these two little pieces which are for the top and the front. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on those. Sorry if that was out of shot. So these are the two little pieces. And they're going to go on those two sections like so. So when the card stands up, you'll see like so. It's not easy to get all this in the camera. So when this all folds flat and goes into an envelope, this finished size is 7 by 5. So it'll go in an envelope for a 7 by 5 card. So I'm just going to bring in my piece that I've used for the as the stitch with the stitch rectangles. Just put my lid on my glue, and then these are going to go on here. So I'm just going to position like so. So I'm going to pop these up on dimensionals. I've only got black ones handy, so they'll do. So I'm just going to pop this kind of in the center like so. Turn this over, put some dimensionals on this. And then I'm going to get the ScanNcut to draw me a greeting. So that's going to sit like so. And I didn't colour the top of the jar in because I knew that I was going to cover it over with the flowers. And then that's going to sit on the front of the card. So that's what I mean. You could either use your stitch rectangles if you've got them, or use this piece and use it vertically. Okay, so that's going to sit on the front of the card. And again, I think I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. So I think Jar of Flowers is a stamp set that gets overlooked and it gets forgotten about. It's in the annual catalogue. I think it was in last year's annual catalogue as well. I have used it in the past. If you go to the main page of my channel, to the home page of my channel, there's a little magnifying glass at the top, and if you put in Jar of Flowers, I'm sure other projects will pop up. So that's going to kind of sit centrally like so. And then I'm just going to go over to the ScanNcut machine now, and I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to use my Night of Navy Stampin' Right marker to draw my greeting. So I'll just load, I'm going to use the bullet tip end. Load this into the holder and tighten it up. And I'm going to pop this in my ScanNcut machine. Okay, so I've already got my USB stick plugged into the side of my machine, so I'm going to go to retrieve data from the USB stick and find my greeting, which I've already made in Canvas Workspace using one of the fonts that's on my computer. I'm going to say OK and do a background scan because I've got a piece of white card already stuck to this mat. So I'm just going to drag my greeting over and I'm just going to go to edit and zoom in just to make sure that it is on this piece of white card, because I think it probably will only just about fit. So I'm going to zoom in and move this over so that I can make sure that it is sat on my piece of white card. So I think that's going to be okay. So I'm going to say OK, 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 select, draw and start. It's telling me to move the lever on the side of the machine, so I've done that and I'm going to say start. So now it's saying it's going to take 11 minutes. I don't think it'll take that long, but I'll let you see it starting to draw and then I'll come back when it's finished. Okay, so it's done the outline and it's now filling in, because when I was in Canvas Workspace I told it to use a fill. I applied a fill, so I used the text icon to type out the greeting, and then I went to the fill tool and told it to fill, so it automatically knows now when I come over here. And I also assigned it as a draw rather than a cut, so that once I saved it and I bring it to the machine, because I've applied the fill in Canvas Workspace, it knows to do it here. So that's what it's doing now. So you can see at the bottom here it's starting to fill in. So I'll just let that carry on and then I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so that's finished. So I'm going to say OK and I'm going to unload my mat. I'm going to take the greeting off my scan and cut mat and I'm going to put the lid back on my pen so it doesn't dry up. So that's my Stampin' Right marker. These are like our ink pads. These are not the blends, these are not alcohol markers. And I'm just going to trim this greeting down and see how it's going to look on my card. Now this little guillotine you cannot purchase from Stampin' Up. It was, I think, a starter gift a while ago and demonstrators were able to buy it for a short period of time, but unfortunately you're not able to get it now. So I'm just using this because it's just handy for trimming up little greetings like this. So that's going to go on the front of my card now. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, but the ScanNcut has filled that in beautifully. So I could put it across there or I could stick it on the front so it stands up like so. So I think what I'll do, I'll just apply a little bit of adhesive along the bottom, and then it can kind of sit up from the little box section of the card. So I'm going to pop it kind of centrally, bring that in, just stick it so it kind of sits up above. I will take pictures of this, and there'll be a picture at the end of the video, and there'll also be pictures with the accompanying blog post, because I appreciate that you probably can't see this very well on screen, and especially with it being a bigger card than I would normally make. Usually it's not easy to get it all in the camera, but basically that folds backwards, that's going to stand up, that's how your card's going to stand. It will fold flat to go in an envelope that fits a 7x5 card. I think the only thing that needs adding now is a little bit of bling. So I've got my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to use a couple of these glossy, what are these called? Glossy Dot Assortment. I think this is Coastal Cabana, but I think it will still work with the Balmy Blue that I've used. So a little bit of glossy dots on there. So I'll zoom in so you can see it in close up, but as I say, I'll get a nice photograph of it. So it all folds flat to go in a 7x5 envelope. That pops up, the back pops out, and it will stand like so. So I hope you like that project. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Please share it with your crafty friends if you can do so. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.